Hello, hello. Good day, everyone. And as we're all joining in, I'm just going to go ahead and stall for time because I know it takes a few seconds for everybody's connections to catch up. We've got Bobby Swartz here, President of Starin Marketing, and I'll be taking the reins on hosting much of this today with my counterpart, Chris Netto. Sorry for a little bit change in the lineup here, but due to the remnants of Hurricane Zeta, we've had Comcast lost a pad down in the Georgia region, which happens to be that of our very own connection to Melissa Dillman. And we had a little bit of similar circumstances with Mr. Jeff Smith, who is going to be trying to jump in here a little bit. But I think we're in good hands because you've got myself and we have the well-known Mr. Christopher Netto. Chris Netto, how are you doing today, good sir?
Doing well. Thank you for the surprise. Hey, get on a town hall with Bobby Swartz moment. Always ready to jump on video. I just have to move my schedule around and then jump off and go do something else as well. In the meantime, we can hope that Mr. Smith can join us. Unfortunately, I got a message earlier today that Melissa was having a tough time thanks to the remnants of Zeta, and I am about to get a little bit of that too. So plenty of bad weather spread around the East Coast. So welcome everybody to the October Town Hall. By the way, this is our trick or treat episode. Obviously, this is more trick than treats. So enjoy as me and Bobby go and run through as much as we can on Zoomtopia, what we heard, what we got, and how does it matter? What matters to you guys as far as the announcements that came out, the new product features that came out, and everything good that's happening to Zoom within the next, I would say, 6 months. Because if you are going to tell me that you guys know exactly what Zoom's doing for all of 2021, I think you have that wrong. And going forward, we are definitely in for a whole host of treats coming with all the feature sets that were announced at Zoomtopia.
Chris, I like to think you and I both have are fairly well connected in different ways, which means what's not going to be missing is opinions and some good information.
So absolutely,
we did have a lot of early requests. I don't know, some of you, I'm actually matching up some of the names here. I noticed some of you sent some questions in advance. Maybe it's the veil of anonymity, but we do have a good questions set already, so we can jump through some of those topics. But by all means, we'll keep this live and rolling. Now, the Q&A pane is at the bottom. Feel free to ask any questions or feel free to use them in the chat. We are happy to discuss. But first and foremost is we're just kind of, Chris, I know you attended a handful of sessions, and I know probably a lot, the difference was the format. I think it gets into a bigger industry thing is, what was your take on overall the experience of, I mean, the interaction or the difference, pros and cons of this type of webinar, of this type of format for a trade show that you saw? What was good? What do you think was different, I guess, in the negative way, which we couldn't control because we live in this new COVID world?
True. So everybody's kind of faced with the same kind of issues right now. Everybody wants to go virtual. A lot of people don't know how to go virtual. So they're turning to a lot of different opinions and a lot of different, now all of a sudden, online virtual event experts. Where were they 12 months ago when we were screaming for, please, let's get an online component to some of the bigger trade shows? Nobody was around. Now, all of a sudden, these guys are coming out, again, sticking with our Halloween theme. These guys are resurrecting, people that obviously have zombified, because now they're walking around telling people how to do different types of events. Zoom is no stranger to virtual. They're no stranger to online communications for obvious reasons. I think a lot was riding on Zoom to come up with a plan that was going to be both engaging and effective. I think they did that. Now, as somebody who has been to various trade shows online virtually, and obviously, let me clarify something first. If your expectation is to get an online virtual trade show and have the same experience you do in person, you're kidding yourself. That's not going to happen. There's ways to do it, and there's a component that Zoom brings to the table, which is obviously the engagement and the video piece that makes it much better. but it's not the same as me and you, Bobby, hanging out at a bar in Orlando. It could be it could be a nice bar, or it could be that weird bar where, you know, they serve in red Solo cups. But whatever the case is, high class, low class, wherever you want to hang out, you're at least hanging out physically in person. So these online virtual trade shows have really gotten to the point where, you know, everybody's getting kind of worn from it. And here is Zoom coming in October with their event. How many trade shows have we put through? And even ourselves, we hosted a show, and everybody's trying to find that key component, right? What Zoom did well is they had a great, you know, opening interface. Now, Zoom did not, that's not a Zoom thing. The pink mountain with the floating island that kind of reminds you of something from the movie Avatar, that was not a Zoom created thing. If you are signing into Zoom and looking to create an event within Zoom, you're not going to get that. So let's clarify that. That is from a third party that they went ahead and got. What I did like was they did have each individual kind of trade show booths where their vendor partners were in, and you can go in and learn about some of the new devices. Because what Zoom had was two things. They had to announce features. Now, what's great about being a software-based company like Zoom is that your features are not concrete. You're not going to go into an infocom, for example, and hold the latest feature. You need to kind of see it. So their announcements of features were great, but if you're going to sit there and just read bullet points, that's not going to work. So bringing in the new partners with their announcements, the physical product install announcements, that's what's interesting to the integrator partners that are watching, right? We want to know about the latest sound bar. We want to know what the newest cameras, and we want to know what those features are that they're making it and how it's going to basically work with the equipment that these partners are coming with. Some of the interesting stuff that came in that conversations are, you know, you got to see, we obviously had a booth per se. You got to discover obviously that we as Starin have a great relationship with Zoom as a distributor partner for not only their products, but some of their services as well. You also got to kick the tires, so to speak, virtually some of the new products that were announced. But to me, what stood out was a lot of the sessions. Obviously, a keynote. I've never been to a trade show where Mark Cuban was the keynote. So cool. You know, we finally reached the cool status level, Bobby, where we're getting invited to places where there's, you know, A-listers, not like us, the Z-listers, right?
Well,
So,
I loved the effect of how, I mean, one of the pros was not everybody can travel to a trade show, especially even the best times, COVID removed. Attendance, you know, they had the option for up to 40,000 people coming in, and they had 40,000 registrations. That means there was a huge amount of new people being able to partake in something. I do totally agree. I missed the fact of so much of, for me, traveling to a lot of trade shows like you, it's how the interaction, what happens outside of the trade show, which is the industry connections, the industry talk, those late night chats where you learn something unique or forge those relationships that carry on. Yep. And I think that's what gives legs and the extent, because those conversations, they carry on for months afterwards. The friends you make, the people, the conversations, those business plans. So it's really unique. So that I was missed, but you can't, I mean, the ability to have 40,000 people tune in, reach there were a lot of very good quality sessions, a lot of new product exposures. I wish there was in the virtual world that I guess the perfect balance is find a way to marry the two up. But yeah, I agree. There was unique good things, and then you know, I did miss that connection, which we'll see how we. I guess that's why we have webinars like this to connect with people.
Yeah, not only that, as somebody who spends a lot of time on the social channels and social media side, yes, we did have after hours kind of, the party went down, everything finished up with Zoom, and we carried over the conversations online. Zoom was pushing, you know, the conversation and chatting online during the event and after the event. So if you were out there posting and you were taking, you know, I kind of made the comment on Twitter that, you know, 2020 is the year of the show selfie, which is a screen capture nowadays. I'm not taking a selfie on the show floor, but I'm screen capping what I'm seeing, because that's the closest I'm going to get to having an actual, you know, selfie on a trade show floor. But you're 100% right. Getting to the trade shows is next to impossible right now, and it's something that we have to get used to. And unfortunately, moving forward, there's always going to be this kind of mysterious component until everything is kind of straightened out in the world. We're always going to wonder, will the trade show happen or not? But what is really, positive is that we are settling into accepting that the trade shows can be done online. And from an information standpoint, from a networking standpoint, you got to still figure that out. A lot of companies are trying to figure out what's the trigger for that. And what I mean by companies, I'm talking about online production and events companies that are looking for the right platform. If you're developing one for your own company internally and it works, maybe you got something. But as of right now, the engagement seems to be kind of tough. But the knowledge that came out of Zoomtopia, right? The announcement of the Zaps is of importance, of on-demand, the Zoom or the on Zoom for the content creators and how other people are going to use it. A lot of the products that not only we carry did some nice announcements as well as, it's unheard of right now. I feel like I'm in a vacuum. I'm not getting the trade show. So I don't have the physical product in front of me to say, hey, did you see the new, D10, blah, blah, blah. Because I physically can't see it, right? I can't touch it. And we as nerds and geeks and AV people that we are at our core, we need to break something at a trade show by accident. We need to press a touch screen, even though that's kind of taboo right now, but we want to physically see it, spin it around. What are the connectors? What are the gazintas and the gazautas, as a lot of the engineers would say. So those are the breaks, man. That's what I miss. Yep. But going forward, it's super positive. It looks to be that, we're going to get more feature product information thrown at us than we would actually in the trade show. And that may, in the long run, be super beneficial. You
hit that on the head. And I think one of the things that it was probably the most here. I mean, there was a lot of announcements. People saw those, so I'm not going to just recap press headlines. But I think for our industry, what the Zap means, that's Zoom's app platform, basically being open for development, which will start going live this year with some really apps. For us in the integration market, what that means is it's staying power for Zoom in the integration. I mean, their growth, and this will get right into one of the questions that we had emailed in, that growth and how they're embedded, it's all about ease of use for our customers. And then they're opening up that interface to make their own apps and that API and that really formal structure. It just means a more seamless workflow and that other people are going to be creating to get their things. It's treating Zoom as a platform now, not just a tool. And for us, that means there's the staying power in Zoom. So how do we work within that platform? And that's a mindset change integration. And that leads to one of the questions I had. Two people ask almost the same question, so I'll paraphrase it here. But it was targeted at Zoom. There's been amazing growth. Obviously, if you saw any of Zoomtopia, you just have to pick up a news feed to watch their share price and how that moves up. Their user count is gigantic. So the question is, they've had amazing growth this year. We get that. How do you anticipate that's going to affect Zoom Room licenses when businesses get back? So reframing that a little bit too, I think I'll add the caveat myself of, we've seen the huge amount of Zoom user licenses, but how's that affecting Zoom Room licenses? Because for us in the integration AV channel, it's the Zoom Room licenses that really end up driving hardware changes, adoptions with all of the corporate customers. So I'll go ahead and take the first stab at answering that one, because this is one that I've asked a lot as well, and we do a lot of study on. I think we're seeing it across the globe. I'm working with my counterparts, Midwich Group, businesses across the shutdowns, COVID, everything's had a weird effect. Politics, things like that. Election years are always funny for businesses as they do their planning. And I think right now we're seeing, I see a little bit of pent up demand waiting for consistency. And I think, I can't tell you when that's going to be, but the amount of users, if in Zoom, they've increased 400% since before COVID plus. I'd have to look at the final metric. Right now, that's mostly to facilitate hybrid and remote work. And now we've had people who went from no Zoom to using Zoom as part of their livelihood for 6, 7, 8 months. Going into next year, we're talking people are going to be using this for 12 months. You think as businesses open back up, we start going back to offices. Now this is a habit. It's not going to be, well, they're going to stop using Zoom when we go back. Zoom's the new normal, as is any of the other UC platforms, quite honestly. If your company's adopted and you've used it for all your critical communications for 9 months, well, whenever you go back to the offices in whatever way, you're sticking with that platform because it's now a habit that's not going to be easily broken. So I would, I think in my opinion, and like I said, I've got lots of them. I think that the AV integration channel, as we do hit whatever that new normal is, and I hate that term, sorry to use it, but it's the facts of the matter. At some point, consistency is going to come back. Businesses are going to say, all right, here is where we're going to start coming back in. And there's going to be a wave of people coming in going, crap, we use this platform for all of our communications. We never accounted for the infrastructure. It was just one of those things like, yeah, we'll have to deal with it later. There's going to be a whole lot of that. And we know when that happens, there's a lot of need on the AV integration channel to be fast, effective. And then also, I think we're going to be running up against a lot of budget constraints with our end users to value engineer. So I do see a wave coming. And it's going to be, I'm guessing, just sometime next year, sometime middle next year. I think we're looking at vaccine and politics to smooth out a little bit. So
awesome. So I just be forewarned, if there's a fly buzzing around here, and if I have one of those political moments where the fly and all the attention turns to a fly on my head, please let the comments fly, because that was a bad pun. Anyway, it's funny you use the word Zoom and Zoom, well, specifically Zoom rooms, because one of the things that I, as an attendee, watched, for the people that are watching, that are integrators, and typically this is equipment, hardware type stuff. I think that the conversations, and from what I can tell, and this is my own personal opinion, I think that the conversations are moving from the hardware ecosystem to the platform ecosystem. And the reason why I'm saying that is all the announcements, all the features, all the things that Zoom were pointing to that are coming, right, are platform specific. And it is taking what was once just a video platform. I am just going to use this for video calls, and when it's done, I shut it off and I make another video call. That eventually became a chat platform because we use it for our own personal inside Starin in the Midwich group. We are using that for interdepartmental and conversational pieces. You now get these integrations in from the Slacks, from Salesforce. So Zoom is becoming part of already other stuff that we have. So those are not, that's not a new announcement. The bringing on of Zaps and the conversations of making webinars more natural and more holistic, listening to the people. Every announcement that they came out with, Bobby, and I took notes of this, every announcement that Zoom said, every feature set was always either preceded or followed by, we listened to what you guys wanted, and this is what you guys asked for, and we finally have been able to develop a proper way to deliver it. So, you know, the stuff like breakout rooms, where you can set up these breakout rooms and move around the breakout rooms as opposed to being assigned to a breakout room. That's awesome. That's a great feature, but that came from users identifying this as a way. They're improving their audio. That's another conversation piece. I mean, you're going to have Dave Matthews play at your show. You better step up your game. And they did. They're bringing the better audio quality to Zoom, which has, you know, and for the most part, and I think it was even part of a question that came up, that you need, you know, better audio quality, and Zoom listened, and they're bringing that to the conversation. And also that syncs up with their on Zoom platform, which is a way for content creators to go ahead and use this. But at the surface, it's scratching and making it look like, oh, it's for YouTubers to sell tickets. It's not. It is going to be a way for House of Worship to use so that they can deliver service. It's going to be a better way for tutors who are now like not coming to people's houses, who need tutoring, to do online servicing, right? Right now, the way it's set up in the beta, I've taken a look, it's PayPal service money that, you know, if you have a business, you can go ahead and start using that. So a lot of these things are very user focused and user driven, which to me is a major positive thing, because I don't get that much feedback from other manufacturers, well, not necessarily manufacturers, but for software developers that are out there talking to their end users and directly, hey, you said this in June, and guess what? December, we're getting it. So they're developing, they're working on it, and they're listening more importantly than anything else. Those are some of my major takeaways.
And some of those, and there was a comment here in the chat that we'll go ahead and address, and that's it's a great clarification, because some of the things we're talking about is really a lot of the things that came out of Zoomtopia. There wasn't a lot of, I mean, we had some cool hardware, but I think the focus was that there was appliances, and the appliances are based on being very specifically an ease of use operation for Zoom. It's about an end user being able, especially when you work from home now, you don't have an IT staff, being able to plug, play, and have a great experience. So some of these things that we're talking about here is the hot list from Zoom. Some of the biggest things I think affect our industry is, and I'll give some clarification from that quick rundown. What are the biggest things for me? The Zap, which is Zoom's app store, which is really just the API development that integrates directly to Dropbox, not just a connection, but an actual app interface to allow any developer to build their support system into the Zoom interface. That's launching this fall with pre-developed full apps that seamlessly allow Dropbox, Slack, others to come into the Zoom platform. That is going to have legs for the next years, which just cause, again, turning Zoom to a platform. So as integrators, I think knowing that we have that ability to interface there is, and this more systems converging at our customers that we need to interface with gives Zoom the staying power. The other one that Chris, you just brought up too, was the on Zoom for virtual events. For us, that was a big deal. It might seem like a small feature set on the surface, but how it affects us in the AV channel is kind of profound, because now instead of just corporate communications and a communication stack, they have the on Zoom platform that's coming out is made for that streaming and monetization services. I mean, it's to be a streaming platform. So, we think of Zoom for corporate right now and work from home. Zoom is now putting a platform together for that streaming house of worship market, basically, that also allows your donations, all those things that are missing when you're not present in real life, is that user feedback. So thinking about how do we build systems, platforms that feed back into Zoom outside of the boardroom, outside of the work from home. These are big items that kind of profound for the way they are going to touch integration and interlinking with Zoom. Then a lot of things, I mean, just popular demand, and your customers will ask, how secure is Zoom? Obviously, security was all over the place at Zoom since the beginning of the year and their rapid growth. Lots of security enhancements, end-to-end encryption, video, audio, all those things. It's becoming much more resolved to not just be catching up, which I think is how a lot of people like to frame it in March and April, but now they plan on being industry leading in that regard. So for us, those are some of the biggest items. I mean, hardware side, a lot of things focused around the appliance. That's what we saw a lot of, is trying to make, especially the work from home, how to give the simplest plug and play user experience for quality audio video with plug and play. And I know that's a stopgap for work from home. That changes when you get to the offices and more complex systems. But I think that's more of what we saw on that hardware push, is definitely just a sign of the time and the current, because that's what's kind of, well, look at us. I haven't seen my office in 6 months.
It's not Zoom's job to tell you what the virus is going to do in the next 6 months. But what Zoom is trying to do is help us continue and have continuity with our world and our business and even communications by providing us a service that allows us to see and hear each other. So let's not look at Zoom as going to solve the pandemic. Let's look at Zoom as a way to help us kind of ease into what is coming, because in the same tokens, it's not going to be an architect who is going to tell me how to stay safe in an office. They can only open up the spaces and make them safer for us to sit and have conversations, and obviously within the 6 foot distance and so on and so forth. So having Zoom a part of these conversations is great. the technology that they're working on, the technology that we're seeing from the integrator, from the manufacturer partners that they have, is that they're taking a look at the bigger spaces. The huddle room, the 2-person huddle room is a big question mark moving forward. Are they going to continue to be that, or is the old conference rooms for 4 to 6 people now become the new huddle room? And do those huddle rooms now become the D10Me offices, where it's just, or you're bringing in a desktop, or a laptop, and having just a quiet place because of how they're figuring out open space? If anybody that's watching the town hall has an answer for that, please absolutely send that to me, because I am confused still how they're going to go. I live and work in New York, in New Jersey area. There's 4 walls on every building. They can't make the buildings bigger, but they can definitely move the stuff inside. So we're definitely sitting, waiting, hoping that the reconfiguration, the restacking of spaces in the corporate now become more friendly towards people to be able to come. Because what I've been reading, what I've been watching, is that the office is changing, and it's not going to be an office to go every day, but sort of the destination when you have to go in there. Am I an expert? No. Is that the honest truth of what is going to become of offices? Probably not. It depends on where you are. In right now, I'm in a bigger or more lockdown area than other people are. So as of right now, we still don't have a clear picture. But down south, things are different. So it depends. It's a moving target. Zoom can help us in the meantime. Right now, connect the dots. And not every company is going out there and bringing in. Every corporate company, has the ability to have all these multiple offices. What about the smaller business, the medium-sized businesses? How are they surviving? That's where Zoom really has a bigger footprint.
How can they still generate revenue? And I know Chris, you had some other commitments too. So everybody else, we want to be good on time here. So
I'm going to step out, and you know what? I'm done talking, and let's introduce Mr. Smith here, who is going to be the be-all, end-all, and the advocate for all things cool from Zoom while I step away. Gentlemen, have a great town hall. I apologize for coming in here and talking a little too much, but I do got to run. Thank you so much for having me, Bobby. Thanks, and have a great town hall.
Thanks. So, Jeff, we've just been chatting here with some of our audience members on a few questions on Zoom. How are you going today, good sir?
Doing well. How are you, my friend?
Oh, wonderful. So, we saved a couple questions for you, and I think your perspective. I think we answered some of our own opinions, but one that came up a couple is, as far as effects integrations, the AV channel. What do your crystal ball, Jeff Smith? Does it affect Zoom rooms? I mean, we were discussing earlier the rapid growth Zoom's had. It's the user licenses. We know that Zoom rooms, the corporate business, is slightly different still. Where do you see that going in the future, and how do you think that affects hardware coming up, or what's your gut feeling on those types of things?
So we have a lot of interaction with customers. The energy right now is in planning. So every customer that I interact with is talking about, how do I return to the office? What functionality am I going to need when I do that? What needs to change in my physical spaces in order to support people that are in a more hybrid environment? There's a lot of energy in planning that expansion. Video conferencing is becoming the mandatory business continuity service. We've passed the point where it was optional as a communication tool. So what that means to me, and I'm biased a little bit because I support the room space, but what that means to me is that more spaces are going to need to be enabled with video conferencing, not less. So as video conferencing becomes the pervasive form of communication, hybrid work becomes the norm. You have less of the in-person only meetings, then that reasonably leads to the conclusion that I'm going to need to video enable all my spaces. So the greenfield opportunity that we've been talking about for a decade, where all of those small conference rooms are going to need video equipment, is going to accelerate because of the pervasity of video conferencing throughout our industry.
It's now the standard requirement. It's just, yeah, it's coming back to that. What's going to be that new normal and when, because it's an uncertainty factor that, that we're all living in right now.
If I could put a day on it, you know, you could write me a big check, because I don't think any of us can really predict in region when is that floodgate going to open. I have good confidence that there is a floodgate. I have less confidence on which day it's going to start opening.
January 21st, 4:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I should take off my calendar.
Yep. Mark it.
No,
Bobby the Prophet is gonna put that day in his calendar.
I think I definitely agree. The floodgate's there. It's a matter of the uncertainty, because it is no matter how you want to look at it, the change benefits video conferencing as being dominant in spaces. Even if the spaces have fewer people in them because of remote work, the necessity is there. So it's a matter of that planning and that consistency coming back in, which one of the questions we had too is we're looking at the expansion. I mean, budgets. How do we see our customers, the end users, your customers, our conjoined customers between our integrators and the hardware? How do we see budgets or things like that happening, or is it still too much of a crystal ball to how they're going to address these types of things?
Again, so this is anecdotally from my experience with customers, is that I don't see them talking about budgetary constraints being the challenge. It's likely going to be funneled through facilities. Facilities are getting a lot of budget right now. So from our sales perspective, we're trying to reach out more to, beyond IT, beyond the collaboration, software groups that are handling that kind of purchasing, and into facilities groups that are in charge of reconfiguring offices for the hybrid workforce. That's where the budgets are going to be most available. So money is flowing into education right now. A lot of grant money is coming into the EDU space, and we're seeing a lot of energy there. And we're also seeing a lot in facilities in the corporate America. So around the world, we're seeing a lot of differences. So it depends on where you are. If you're North America based, or if you're Europe based, or if you're in APAC, it's a whole different picture. So when I look at our business in Europe and Asia, I see that as foreshadowing of what we're going to see in the US when things start opening up more. So those businesses have been much stronger from a Zoom perspective in the room space outside the US. And so, again, more data points to form our crystal balling around.
Here's an easy one, Jeff. Chris and I both gave our opinions, so we'll take yours because you were the tightest to it, and you got to experience the pink clouds that have been referenced multiple times here. But at Zoomtopia, and especially since you're tied to Zoom rooms, what do you think as far as the AV channel should know? What to you was the biggest announcement or best feature that really affects the integration channel and the future Zoom rooms coming in, round out the year and going into next? If you had to pick one, because I know there were a few.
I can only pick one. I'm going to do two.
Okay, fine, fair enough.
So,
deal.
All right. Because of my children, I can't just pick one. The one being our whiteboard enhancements, and when you think about that from a channel perspective, it's an additional device in the room. So it's not just the main video conferencing unit, but it's also a digital whiteboard, or it's a different type of installation if it's an all-in-one digital whiteboard. So that there's so many customers that are asking me about how can they collaborate in a much richer way now that not everybody is physically present. And so different types of meetings happen visually with whiteboarding than happen if we're just talking. So enabling those types of meetings is huge, and it'll have a pretty strong impact on the market of the types of devices that are required by customers, as well as the quantity of devices that are in a room. The other one is our Zoom Rooms, our Smart Gallery view. So the ability to have multiple camera views that are in a particular conference room. It will have impact as we define the sets of technologies that are used for connection. Right now, we have USB connectivity between cameras and a Zoom room. We're building out network protocols to support that as well. So you have cameras over network. NDI, yes. That is a front runner for the technology of choice.
Great question, Sean.
Had a good discussion about NDI this morning. But yeah, so whether that's our first phase will likely be a local network, so local switch, transporting the NDI back to the Zoom Rooms computer. And look at whether we can expand that to be more generic, where you can put that on the corporate network and configure it in a secure fashion. But those two are going to be awesome. It'll be more of a, we think about the scaling of video conferencing into these spaces. A lot of that's in the cookie cutter appliance realm. But as we get into much more of these richer experiences, a single camera in the front of the room isn't sufficient. So a lot more, kind of integrator-led deployments.
And working with the product team on your side, Jeff, we get to have a lot of different meetings, and there will be some things coming from Starin for all the integrators out there that we've been working on. A lot around the NDI certified by Zoom products coming on board. So over the next month, you'll see some extra product announcements, which are, Sean, to that specifically for some of those advancements. So we'll be in touch with those soon. But yeah, it's the amount you can do to enrich the experience, because that's how we started this all off. Everyone was what was missing from Zoomtopia. What did we all miss? But what was also good? It was that interconnection, that enrichment, where it's two-dimensional here. How do you fabricate a third dimension, basically? And these are the types of advancements that are really making it a more fulfilling experience.
And when my experience with Zoomtopia it was very much a broadcast experience, and we didn't get a lot of the typical interaction that you get with customers in an event like that. And it's a huge learning for us, as a company. How do you run events where you have a greater degree of interaction? So thinking a lot about along those lines as with Zoom as a platform.
Right, because this is a first for just about everyone in the world. Every trade show this year.
Yeah, great event. But we could have posted a bunch of videos and accomplished a lot of the same things. So
it's a great experiment and learning platform to help drive that next generation of enrichment, though. So I mean, pulled off a very large event, and 10 times the attendance of the previous year, roughly. So you got to touch a lot more people.
Definitely reached a lot more people. Great feedback from the analyst community that we're very excited from a platform perspective of what we're doing with Zoom apps and on Zoom, creating a whole new ecosystem of prosumer-led events. So a lot of things we can do with that, and a lot of energy around devices in the home that are going to be empowering for those experiences. Fitness instruction. Bobby, I love your guitars. So if you want to run concerts out of your studio there, I'd sign up. You can run those on Zoom. Invite all of us, and we'll pay good money to hear Bobby play his guitars.
You might pay me more to get me a stop once I do, but hey, as long as there's a revenue stream, right?
That's right.
Well, excellent.
The tips will come flying in. It's going to be great.
Very good. So we did have, there were a handful of other questions, but I do know for the audience, we like to keep it to the 45 minutes. So what we'll do as usual. Jeff, thank you. But we'll send some follow-up questions and we'll use those as to answer as an FAQ for the follow-ups here to everybody who was able to attend and wasn't. Thank you all as well for bearing with me at the beginning as we determined that a Comcast substation got knocked out for Melissa and a few other fun things happened right at the last minute. So, but again,
Our world.
in a typical world, if the lights go out at a trade show or a meeting and you evacuate the building and it's over, here we can keep it going on, which is kind of fun and teaches us all it's how we get the humanity back into business and back into video and communication. So honestly, it's kind of fun. It allows you to deal with surprises.
Well, thanks,
So,
Bobby. Yeah, thanks for
thank you,
having me.
Jeff. We do have a winner for our total for our gift card on this one. The winner goes to dun, 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 dun. I have to scroll back up here through my notifications. The winner is Gerald Vale. Gerald will be contacted by Mark Decker Post to send that along. And again, thank you, everyone. We have a lot coming from Zoom in the coming quarters. As I mentioned, some of those new brands focus around those new video developments we'll be bringing out. We do have, as you know, further education coming on our channel has programs. And as you want to know more, we have our Team Zoom at Starin.biz, or your Starin sales rep, we can connect you. We have a lot of exciting things coming down the pipeline, but we know it's a changing world, so we want to be agile to your needs. So if you ever have questions, comments, need feedback, I know how to get a hold of Jeff Smith, but we also know how to get a hold of plenty of other people. We can always get your answers, and that's what we're here for. Is we just want to make, even in a world that's not simple, we want to make business simple and easy for you. So thank you all. Enjoy and have a wonderful rest of the week. Take care. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.